I absolutely love this move by the Baltimore Ravens. Bringing back former Raven Calais Campbell is a great thing for this football team. This wasn't about chasing a headline. They're bringing back a player who understands the organization, knows what to expect on the football field for the Baltimore Ravens, and still can make an impact at the highest level. At this stage of his career, nobody's asking Calais Campbell why the Ravens brought him back. We're perfectly fine with this because he can help this team compete for a Super Bowl. And honestly, I think that on and off the field, this could be one of the smartest moves for Calais Campbell and for Baltimore this entire offseason. But before we get into that, I also want to send my thoughts and my prayers to Calais Campbell and his family during the time that they've been facing over the past couple of weeks. And with that being said, I will tell you why I love this move. But also, before we get into that, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. It is completely free, and we are providing daily Ravens updates, news, rumors, and all things Ravens on a daily basis. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content we are providing at all. Now, if we're talking about Calais Campbell and this being the final chapter within his career, the first thing to remember is where Calais Campbell is in this point of his career. This isn't the Calais Campbell who was terrorizing quarterbacks every single Sunday and the six-time Pro Bowler. This is a veteran expected to be heading into his final year as an incredible NFL player throughout his several years of being a very elite defensive lineman in the NFL. He's a six-time Pro Bowler, as we know, all-pro selection, and one of the best things is him helping out the community with him being a Walter Payton Man of the Year winner. This is a resume, in my opinion, that could land him in the Hall of Fame, and he is still chasing that one Super Bowl, and this is what brought him to Baltimore. When you look at Calais Campbell's career, there's a bigger conversation that really needs to be had. As we've talked about, is he a future Hall of Famer? I think that the conversation becomes harder and harder to ignore when you look at his resume and what it speaks for himself. He has over 100 career sacks, has played nearly 20 seasons in the NFL, is a first-team All-Pro, Walter Payton Man of the Year, as we talked about, and he's kind of been a journeyman towards the end of his career, but he's been a difference maker and a leader at every organization he's been a part of. When you talk about this is kind of a resume for a Hall of Fame player, and it's not just purely based on statistics. He has a pretty huge impact in the football game as well as off the field of just being a very wholesome and a nice guy. And it's all about being respected by your teammates, your coaches, and your opponents. And Calais Campbell checks every one of these boxes when it comes to this. But in terms of football, why was the Baltimore the perfect place for him to return to going into this upcoming season? And honestly, I believe that Calais Campbell is a great player that the Baltimore Ravens would not mind having back. As we know, Calais Campbell knows the organization. He knows what to expect. He knows the Ravens culture. He knows what it takes to play Ravens football. And more importantly, he knows that this upcoming Ravens team has a legitimate chance to compete for a championship. Lamar Jackson is still one of the best quarterbacks in football, and Derrick Henry gives the offense and the running game something that is pretty physical and an identity that other teams in the league could be scared of. And this year, the defense that he is joining is loaded with talent. As we've talked about in previous videos, we aren't rebuilding. We're trying to win now. And when you're a veteran chasing a Super Bowl, especially in your latter years, there's no better opportunity to come to a situation than a team that you are familiar with. And the Baltimore Ravens culture is something that Calais Campbell just fits perfectly well. But as we know, leadership isn't just as valuable as production. Let's talk about a little bit of the stat sheet for Calais Campbell as we take a look at last season for Calais Campbell. His stats were pretty seemingly great. He played in all 17 games, had 43 tackles with 23 solo tackles and 20 assisted tackles, but the 6.5 sacks is such an elite number for a 39-year-old last year. For him to be such a great piece and a great addition for him to come in based on the situation he had last year of still being able to disrupt at 39 years old is very, very, very impressive. And it is something that cannot be looked over when it comes to talking about Calais Campbell. But don't get it twisted. Calais Campbell isn't just coming back to be another coach in shoulder pads. He can still contribute on the field. As we talked about, he had 12 TFLs last year and hit the quarterback 12 times. And he's not just simply hanging around the league. He can still make an impact. He's still disrupting plays, and he's still defending the run at the highest level that he can. And the Baltimore Ravens don't need him playing every snap at 39. They can rotate him, especially when Madubuike comes back and is healthy, and we can keep him fresh and put him in situations where he can make a very big impact. As we know, Calais Campbell is a huge back, and look, success this season pretty much looks for him to deliver in the role that we know he is capable of doing. Now, what would you make of this season and if it was a success? I would say that his season, this upcoming season, isn't purely based on him chasing a Pro Bowl. It is also about him putting up double-digit sack numbers. And at this stage of his career, as we know, individual numbers aren't what he's chasing. He's chasing to help Baltimore win football games. This means making plays when his time is called, and most importantly, allowing Baltimore to have a deep playoff run with him being an elite piece on this team and being healthy. What we want to remember for Calais Campbell is the idea that he creates pressure in very key moments. And mentoring younger defensive linemen is also something that he can bring to the team to help grow the young defensive line and create a big impact, not only on the field, but also off the field, as we know with him being a Walter Payton Man of the Year, helping out in the Baltimore Ravens community and just being a very situational and young guy to help be a voice for the Ravens culture and the new identity that Jesse Minter is trying to implicate, coming back to a new situation with him leaving the Chargers and trying to create a new foundation with EDC and with his quarterback and with the rest of the Baltimore Ravens staff and organization. But now, when I look at this move, I don't purely see the team just signing a player because of what he used to be. As we've talked about, I see a player who they can trust and someone who fits the culture, as we've talked about. And Calais Campbell is a player who is meant to wear the Ravens uniform. If this is his last season going into the 2026-27 season, helping this football team chase a championship is at the highest degree. And if he can give Baltimore quality snaps, continue to be that leader in the locker room and outside of the locker room, and mentor the next generation of defensive linemen for the Baltimore Ravens, this is a veteran that the Baltimore Ravens are happy to have back and we need going into this upcoming season. Now, Calais Campbell has already built an NFL career on simply something that other NFL players and defensive linemen can dream of. And just because he is so respected in the community, as we've talked about, it just goes so much more beyond the football game of Calais Campbell. And now he has one more opportunity to chase another Super Bowl that is built to compete with the Baltimore Ravens core, simply being aligned and being tough, ready to go through training camp. Now, don't mistake him for thinking he's not going to make an impact. As we talked about, I really love this move for the Baltimore Ravens, and it is not just based on nostalgia. It is about bringing back a respected veteran who still has something to give and who gives his football team in multiple ways than one of just being a great guy and a great piece that the Baltimore Ravens should be happy to have back in their organization. Now, I want to hear from you guys, Ravens flocked. What are your expectations for Calais Campbell on the football side of things, and how big of an impact do you think he will have going into the final year, possibly of his NFL career? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to Ravens Digest for more Ravens news, rumors, and analysis, and turn on the notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Ravens Digest. And until then, Ravens flock always.